The Cathal's gift, a freshly killed reptilian beast, lay at their feet. The significance of the gesture was not lost on them. Jonas, ever the skeptic, squinted at the carcass. So, just to be clear, it's not luring us into a false sense of security before it eats us, right? Tasha smirked. Or it thinks we're really bad hunters and is pity-feeding us. Sienna crouched, studying the Cathal's posture. No aggression, no signs of dominance display. Is an offering. She glanced up at Eli, her voice tinged with awe. It recognizes us as allies. Eli exhaled, staring at the beast before them. This was it, the proof they needed. Humanity's critics in the Galactic Union had scoffed at the idea that a Deathworld species could cooperate rather than dominate, that humans could forge bonds through ingenuity and trust, not just force. But here, standing before them, was undeniable evidence. The Cathal had chosen them, a sudden threat, but triumph had a way of being short-lived. The jungle, silent since dawn, shattered with a guttural roar. Jonas turned, cursing. "Oh, come on. Now!" The hulking obsidian armor behemoth that had chased them before thundered into view, its 6 burning red eyes locking onto them. It hadn't forgotten them. Worse, it wasn't alone. 2 smaller creatures, similar in form but leaner and faster, flanked its sides. A hunting pack. Sienna's voice was tight. They're not scavengers. They're apex predators. Tasha clicked her rifle's safety off, and we just walked into their kill zone. The lead beast snarled, clawing at the ground as it prepared to charge. It didn't see the humans as rivals. It saw them as prey. Eli's mind raced. They were outmatched, outnumbered, and had nowhere to run. Fighting was suicide. Fleeing was impossible. But then, a deep, resonant growl rumbled behind them. Slowly, deliberately, their Cathal stepped forward. It wasn't running. It wasn't afraid. It was claiming them. The lead predator hesitated, its red eyes flicking between humans and the massive feline at their side. Jonas swallowed. "Tell me this is happening." Sienna barely breathed. "It's defending us." The Cathal let out a warning roar, its body language shifting from neutral to absolute dominance. Its fur bristled, its tail lashed, and its muscles coiled, not in fear, but in challenge. The lead predator, massive as it was, hesitated. Then, with a low snarl, it took a step back. The smaller packmates twitched uncertainly before following. Then, as suddenly as they had arrived, the beast turned and slinked back into the jungle. The humans stood frozen, the reality of what had just happened sinking in. Jonas let out a breathless laugh. "I cannot believe that worked." Tasha, grinning, thumped Sienna on the shoulder. "You called it. We're in the pack." Eli turned to the Cathal, their unlikely guardian. Its golden eyes met his, calculating, aware. And then it sat down. Sienna exhaled, eyes shining. That's submission. It's not just offending us. Eli's heart pounded. It's trusting us. Mission accomplished. Hours later, they stood at the extraction site, their Cathal resting nearby, tail flicking idly. The moment they had waited for, the true test of their success, had arrived. A low hum filled the air as the Union observer drones descended. Eli straightened, meeting the cold, analytical gaze of the alien delegate broadcasting the mission live to the Galactic Council. "You have completed your task," the delegate said, its voice clipped and skeptical. "But show us. Did you dominate the creature, or did it simply tolerate you?" Eli didn't answer. Instead, he turned to the Cathal. He reached out, slowly, carefully, giving it the choice. For a moment, the jungle held its breath. Then, the great beast closed the distance itself, pressing its massive head into Eli's palm. The Galactic Union had doubted humanity. They had underestimated what set humans apart, not strength, not ruthlessness, but something far rarer, the ability to make allies of monsters. The jungle remained eerily still in the aftermath of the standoff. Their Cathal, bloodied but standing, watched the departing challengers with wary eyes before shifting its gaze to the humans. Eli tightened his grip on his rifle. "So what now?" Tasha, still exhaling from her high-stakes gamble, wiped sweat from her brow. "Now, we don't chase it. We wait. Jonas gave an incredulous laugh. Wait, that thing barely tolerates our existence. How does standing around help? Sienna, eyes locked on the creature, murmured, because predators don't like unfinished business. The Cathal huffed, shaking itself, sending loose dirt and blood droplets flying. Then, without ceremony, it turned its back to them and limped away. Jonas threw up his hands. Great. Fantastic. It's leaving. Tasha didn't move. No, it's testing us. The beast took a few slow steps forward, then stopped. Its ears flicked. It didn't run, didn't snarl, just waited. Sienna's eyes lit up. It's seeing if we'll follow. Eli gave her a sideways glance. And if we do? Tasha grinned. Then we see how far it'll let us go. Learning the rules. They followed the Cathal at a respectful distance, careful not to encroach too quickly. The beast didn't acknowledge them, but it didn't drive them away either. It moved at a slow but deliberate pace, leading them through dense underbrush, across a shallow river, and finally into a sheltered cavern nestled between jagged cliffs. Inside, the space was surprisingly calm. No immediate threats, no signs of rival predators. Their Cathal lay down heavily, licking its wounds. Jonas, keeping his voice low, muttered, "We are way too close to something that could still eat us." Sienna crouched, pulling a small medkit from her pack. "We need to treat its injuries." Eli raised an eyebrow. "And how do you plan on getting close without losing a limb?" Sienna smirked, very, very carefully. She reached into the pack, pulling out a small aerosol canister. "Coagulant mist," she explained. "Closes wounds, prevents infection. No need for direct contact." Tasha gave an approving nod. "Smart." Jonas squinted at the canister. "And if it hates being sprayed?" Sienna shrugged. "Then I'd die quickly." Before Eli could protest, she took a slow step forward. The Cathal tensed, its molten gold eyes snapping to her. Sienna kept her movements deliberate, making sure the beast could see everything she was doing. Then she depressed the nozzle. A fine, cool mist drifted through the air, settling over the Cathal's wounds. The reaction was instant. The beast flinched, muscles coiling as if ready to strike. Jonas swore under his breath. Then, just as suddenly, it relaxed. The mist had dulled the pain, numbing the worst of the injuries. The Cathal exhaled, its breathing steadying. Jonas let out a slow breath. "Well, that's unexpected." Sienna grinned, stepping back. "Told you, science wins." The breakthrough. The next few hours were spent observing. The Cathal tolerated their presence, though it didn't acknowledge them directly. Small victories. Every time it didn't snarl, didn't bolt, didn't try to kill them, were steps forward. But they needed more. They needed proof of trust. Tasha had an idea. "We feed it," she said. Jonas blinked. "You want us to hand-feed the murder cat?" Tasha rolled her eyes. "Not hand-feed, but if we provide food, we change the dynamic. Right now, it sees us as tolerated bystanders. If we give it something it values, we become part of the equation." Sienna frowned. "That's risky. If it associates us with food but doesn't respect us, it might start hunting us instead," Eli finished. Tasha grinned. "Exactly. That's why we do it carefully." They set a plan. Jonas rigged up a small drone with a retractable claw, loading it with a hunk of fresh meat scavenged from a local carcass. The goal was simple: offer the food without forcing interaction. They activated the drone. It hovered cautiously toward the Cathal, lowering the meat before retreating. The beast lifted its head, ears flicking. It sniffed the air. Then, in one swift motion, it snapped up the offering. Jonas exhaled. "Okay, step 1, success." Sienna was already analyzing the Cathal's body language. No defensive reaction. It accepts the food, but it's not dependent on us yet. Eli crossed his arms. "So we keep doing it." The test. For the next 2 days, they maintained a routine, tracking, following, offering food, backing off. The Cathal started anticipating their presence, lingering in areas longer, ears perking when the drone appeared. It wasn't just tolerating them anymore. It was recognizing them. But the real test came when they stopped feeding it. On the 3rd day, the team withheld the drone, watching from a distance. The Kothal waited. Its tail twitched, its head tilted. Then it came to them. Tasha grinned. We're in. Sienna's breath caught. This isn't just tolerance. This is communication. The Kothal stepped closer, its molten eyes assessing them. Then, in a slow, deliberate motion, it dropped a freshly killed carcass at their feet. Jonas let out a low whistle. Did we just get a gift? Eli, smiling despite himself, nodded. We're not just observers anymore. Sienna's voice was hushed with awe. We're part of its pack. The ground trembled beneath them. Distant trees cracked like splintering bones. Whatever had sent the Kothal fleeing was closing in fast. Eli's grip on his rifle tightened. Eyes up. Move now. The team bolted, weaving through twisted underbrush and gnarled roots. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and something acrid, something alive. Jonas, glancing at his scanner mid-stride, paled. Guys, this thing's big. Sienna, breathless, shot him a look. We just ran from a 4-meter death cat. Define big. Jonas gulped, as in 4 Kothal stacked on top of each other big. A roar tore through the jungle, rattling their bones. A massive shadow barreled through the trees behind them, knocking aside centuries-old trunks like twigs. A brief glimpse of it, a hulking, quadrupedal beast covered in obsidian armor plates, jagged spines running down its back, was all Eli needed. It wasn't just a predator. It was a monster. Tasha, ever the pragmatist, didn't bother looking back. Left, break for the cliffs. Eli didn't hesitate. He trusted Tasha's instincts the way a pilot trusted their instruments in a storm. Go, go, go. They burst through the tree line, skidding to a halt on the edge of a jagged ravine. The drop was sheer, at least 50 meters down into mist-shrouded darkness. Behind them, the behemoth thundered closer. Options. Eli snapped. Jonas, panting, scanned the cliff face. There's an outcropping about 10 meters down. If we jump... Tasha was already moving. Without hesitation, she leaped, landing in a crouch on the rocky ledge below. She glanced up, smirking. No guts, no glory. Sienna muttered something about humans being insane, but followed. Jonas went next, arms flailing before Tasha caught him by the vest. The ground behind Eli exploded as the beast crashed through the tree line. It was even worse up close. 6 burning red eyes, tusks the size of harpoons, and breath that reeked of rot. Its armored hide gleamed like volcanic glass. It let out a deafening, guttural snarl, then charged. Eli jumped. The moment he hit the ledge, a massive claw swiped where he had been, carving deep gouges into the rock. The beast roared in frustration, pacing along the edge above them, unable to reach. Jonas let out a nervous chuckle. So, good news, we're not dead. Sienna, shaking her head, scanned the beast with her visor. Bad news, we just discovered a new apex predator, and it's not friendly. Tasha cracked her neck. More bad news, we lost the Kothal. Eli exhaled sharply. Their entire mission had just gone sideways. Regrouping, they made their way along the cliffside, eventually reaching a safer clearing. Tasha, ever efficient, checked their supplies. We lost some gear during the fall, but essentials are intact, she reported. Still got rations, weapons, and tracking equipment. Jonas slumped against a rock. Fantastic. Now we just have to find the most dangerous creature on this planet again, while avoiding the new nightmare we just met. Eli's jaw tightened. We're not giving up. We came here to prove humanity belongs in the Union. If we back down now, we confirm every smug alien's belief that we're reckless amateurs. Sienna sighed, running a hand through her dust-covered hair. I hate when you're right. Tasha grinned. That's why he's the boss. Jonas groaned. Ugh, fine. But next time, let's not lose the murder cat. Tracking the Kothal, again, with their tracking equipment still functional, they picked up the Kothal's trail. They moved carefully, wary of both their original target and the unknown monster lurking somewhere nearby. Hours passed, tension stretching between them like a live wire. The jungle remained eerily silent. No chittering insects, no rustling underbrush. The ecosystem itself was holding its breath. Then Sienna's scanner pinged. Got something. They crept forward, emerging into a small valley where the terrain flattened into a rocky basin. And there it was. The Cuthal stood in the center of the clearing, muscles tense, ears flicking. It wasn't alone. 3 other Cuthal surrounded it. Their postures were aggressive, tails lashing, low growls vibrating through the air. Jonas exhaled. Oh, so that's why it ran. Tasha studied the scene. Territorial dispute. We're watching a dominance fight. Eli frowned. Which means if we step in now. Sienna finished for him. We're as good as dead. They watched as the largest of the new Cuthal, a sleek, silver-streaked brute, lunged. Their target dodged, snarling, but the pack was relentless, moving in coordinated strikes. It wasn't going to win. Eli clenched his jaw. We can't let it die. That's our specimen. Jonas gestured at the very dangerous predators locked in battle. And what do you suggest, oh fearless leader? Ask nicely. Tasha grinned. Actually, yeah. Jonas blinked. Wait, what? Tasha was already moving. Carefully, deliberately, she stepped forward. The others barely had time to react before she let out a low, rumbling growl, a near-perfect mimicry of the Cuthal's own vocalization. The fighting paused. The silver-streaked Cuthal turned, eyes locking onto her. It let out a warning snarl. Tasha snarled back. Sienna whispered, she's insane. Jonas whispered, yeah, but what if this works? The silver Cuthal huffed, seeming to consider this strange, 2-legged creature who dared challenge it. The others hesitated. Their target, their Cuthal, watched intently. Then, the silver Cuthal lunged. Tasha didn't move. The beast stopped inches from her face, its breath hot against her skin. The moment stretched impossibly long. Then, submission. The silver Cuthal turned, huffed once, and padded away. The others followed, leaving their target standing alone, bloodied but alive. Tasha let out a breath. That was fun. Jonas gawked. That was psychotic. Sienna, scanning the Cuthal, grinned. But it worked. Eli exhaled. All right, we have our beast. Now let's make history. The landing bay thrummed with the quiet hum of power couplings and the occasional burst of steam. Above, the vast lattice of the Galactic Union Station loomed, a testament to civilizations that attained the stars long before humanity's first primitive rockets. Captain Eli Vance exhaled slowly, watching as his team assembled. They were about to step into the biggest gamble of humanity's short interstellar history. The Chelvor delegation stood opposite them, their scale forms gleaming under the artificial lights. High Chancellor Crevasse flicked his tongue, his slitted eyes narrowing with condescension. I fail to see why we are wasting resources on this absurd endeavor, he drawled, his voice a dry rasp. Humans have proven interesting, but this? You will not survive Varric 7, much less subdue a Cuthal. Eli smiled, too sharp, too human. We appreciate your concern, Chancellor, but we'll take our chances. Behind him, Dr. Sienna Carter rolled her eyes. He means we have a plan, she added, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. And we've run the simulations. We can do this. Crevasse chuffed in amusement. No species in the Union has ever tamed a Deathworld apex predator. Your kind is stubborn, but stubbornness will not prevent you from being devoured. Jonas Jojo Delgado, their ever-enthusiastic engineer, nudged Tasha Okoye, their survival specialist. You hear that? We're too stubborn to die. I think that should be Earth's new motto. Tasha smirked but said nothing. Her dark eyes remained fixed on Crevasse, studying him with the same analytical detachment she applied to any threat. The mission was straightforward in theory. Travel to Varric 7, track a Cuthal, an apex predator so lethal it made Earth's most dangerous creatures look like house pets, subdue it, and bring it back alive. The Union had set it up as an impossible challenge, a way to humble humanity after their rapid rise in the galactic community. The unspoken message was clear. Stay in your lane. Eli intended to prove them wrong. The descent to hell, the Dauntless, their small but sturdy dropship, shuddered as it entered the atmosphere of Varric 7. The planet was a nightmare of jagged mountain ranges, acidic rivers, and violent electrical storms that tore across the sky like celestial whips. Even from the cockpit, Eli could feel the oppressive weight of the place. This was a world that had never been tamed. Touchdown in 60 seconds, Sienna announced, monitoring their descent. Gravity is higher than Earth standard, but nothing we can't adjust to. Remind me again why we're doing this. Jonas piped up from the back, adjusting the straps on his exosuit. Because humans are crazy, Tasha answered flatly. Because if we succeed, we prove to the Union that humanity isn't just another fledgling race. Eli said. We prove that we're something different. The ship jolted as it met solid ground, the landing struts groaning under the strain. The viewport displayed a landscape of twisted trees, sharp obsidian cliffs, and a sky tinged with sulfuric green. The air shimmered with distant heat lightning. Jonas whistled. Hell of a vacation spot. Eli unbuckled his harness. Gear up. We start tracking immediately. The hunt begins. The jungle was alive with sound. Chittering insects the size of house cats. Unseen creatures slithering through dense underbrush. The occasional distant bellow of something massive. The team moved in formation, rifles at the ready, though none of them believed their weapons would do much against the Cathal if it decided to attack. Sienna paused, scanning the environment. The reports say Cathal are solitary, territorial hunters. If we get too close, we'll know. Jonas adjusted his wrist display, checking the heat signatures. I've got movement to the north, big movement. Tasha knelt, examining deep gouges in a nearby tree. It's marking territory. We're close. Eli motioned forward. They moved carefully, keeping noise to a minimum. Then the forest went silent. Not good. Sienna barely had time to whisper somethings before a deep, guttural growl cut through the air. The Cathal emerged from the underbrush like a nightmare made flesh. 4 meters of sinewy muscle, obsidian black fur streaked with molten gold, eyes like twin pools of liquid fire. Its 6 limbs moved with unnatural grace, claws the size of short swords sinking effortlessly into the dirt. Jonas took an instinctive step back. Yeah, okay, that's a big kitty. The beast sniffed the air, its intelligent gaze locking onto them. Then it charged. Move! Eli barked, diving sideways as the Cathal's massive frame crashed through the space he had just occupied. The team scattered, years of training keeping them from panicking. Tasha, the fastest, rolled into a crouch and reached for the one tool she had gambled might help, a sonic lure, designed to emit frequencies mimicking the Cathal's hunting calls. She activated it, and the device let out a low, resonant hum. The Cathal skidded to a halt, ears twitching. It growled, its body language shifting from predatory aggression to wary curiosity. Sienna grabbed Jonas's arm. We need data. Now. Jonas, still catching his breath, fumbled with his scanner, working on it. The Cathal took a slow step forward, sniffing the air. Tasha remained still, holding its gaze. The beast wasn't acting purely on instinct. There was calculation in its stance, a flicker of recognition. Then something changed. The Cathal's head snapped upward, nostrils flaring. Without warning, it let out a bone-rattling roar and bolted into the trees. Silence settled over the team. Eli exhaled. What the hell just happened? Sienna checked her scanner. Something spooked it. Jonas paled. Wait! If that thing is running away, what's it running from? A distant tremor rumbled through the ground. The sound of trees snapping like matchsticks echoed toward them. Tasha clicked her tongue. Oh, great. Crevasse and the Union had been so focused on the Cathal. They hadn't asked the real question. What hunted the apex predator? Eli tightened his grip on his rifle. We're about to find out.